I don't think there's any sound coming through, by the way.
No, there wouldn't be. I'm going to hit going live now.
Our background reminds me of like a lemonade, like a pink soda.
That makes you happy.
All right, I think there should be sound. Can we get a sound check there?
It's coming through now, yeah.
It is.
You're very quiet.
Me?
Yep.
As usual, I'm a quiet person. What about you guys?
That's all coming out nice and clear for me.
You need to turn yourself up. I'm fine.
I should be pretty good. Hello? Yeah?
It's all coming out nice and clear for me.
It's on a 30-second delay. You gotta wait.
I'm getting some feedback from one of you guys playing on a speaker.
Alright, that sounds fine.
Alright, as usual, audio issues. Alright, well, let's get the show rolling. Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to join us for the first monthly painting event live show. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to show off some of the really cool entries that people have really worked hard to submit for this month's painting event. Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I've had a bit of a sneak peek at the entries and just like, wow, some of these are, well, actually all of them are really cool. So I'm pretty keen to share it with everybody and so we can see what's going on. I feel really bad because I didn't get my stuff finished in time. But yeah, yikes.
Yeah.
So dwarves not number one then, by the sounds of it.
Oh, look, there's some pretty cool dwarves. I'm not gonna lie. In my opinion, they're number one in my heart.
You're just dragging a chain on it, mate.
And joining us,
I think it's also just super wholesome. Like, you know, it's always cool seeing people's awesome hobby, but there's something just adds a little bit of extra flavor to it, knowing that, you know, at least most of us in New South Wales have all been locked down together, and it's just cool seeing what other people are like growing and working on while we're all stuck at home.
Yeah, and for those that didn't catch it, we've got two guests as well to help us fawn over these really cool minis. We've got Rupert. Say hello, Rupert. Oh, he's
Hi guys. How we doing?
And we've also got Tom. Hey, Tom.
Hey, how are you?
All right, let's get it underway. Let's roll into the first entry here. Let's have a look. Now, to preface this, it is Scott's favorite. It is a Dwarf King, Thrall, King Under the Mountain by Lawrence. Now, I'm going to start it off and say I really like how he's gone for the classic color scheme. He's got the royal blue, he's got the gold, he's even gone for this, you know, nice blue metallic sword. Yeah, really like it. He's done the beard really well, as every dwarf model should focus on anyway. Is painting the beard there. What do you think, guys? Who wants to give the lowdown?
I mean, there's a reason why every Catholic school has the green and not green, the gold and blue is their colors because it just works whenever they're together. But I think I like the simplicity of the base, but it just adds a bit extra as well to the overall appearance.
I'm a huge fan. Huge. Like, just before this stream started, you know, I had the privilege of going through all the miniatures just beforehand to kind of get a see of what was here, and I saw this, and it was weird because 5 minutes beforehand I was not only complaining but also thinking to myself, I'm like, you know, Thor is so cool. He has like the Arkenstone. He has all this, mithril, super heavy armor. He is the king of kings, and he has this like metal stick, you know. But here, Lawrence has given him. I'm not sure if it's either a crystal or like sting, like replicating like the is it the Novgorod dwarves where like or the high elf sort of like first age weapons where they glow blue in the presence of orcs, like that to me already I'm just like yeah. And it also actually really does a really nice job of complementing the color scheme, because if you had done a silver or a gold, it could have been a bit too much, but it helps balance it out. You look at the shield, you look at the sword, it's blue on both ends of like the extremities there, so it definitely helps bring your eye across the model. So huge fan. I like it. I also like how the rim has the same texture as the stone on the base, which makes it look a bit more like a stone plinth, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Scotty. There, I think the blue for the sword really helps balance out the model, and that was you took the words right out of my mouth on that. I think it looks really cool because you got your blue on your right and on the left. And I was also going to say, I think this is a really nice sort of compromise between staying true to like what you see on the box art and so on, but also making your own slight adjustment to it. And in my opinion, it's much more for the better. Like as Eric was saying, I love how it's the classic with the blue and gold, but just that little tweak I think has made a really nice addition to the mini.
100% exudes just grandeur and royalty. Like he is a dwarf king. Like you can see it. He is there in all his panoply. Like he's swole. I like it.
I'm not sure what the rest of the army looks like, but I think from like that's obviously focusing from the front, but half the time when you're playing the game, you're going to look at the model from the backside, and actually gives like a very clear focal point on what otherwise is quite a simple like back half of this model. It's only that fur detail, so having that variation in the weaponry looks nice.
And the amazing thing is, Lawrence was actually the first person to have his submission done. Just in a
bonus
few days.
props.
Look at that, dwarves coming in strong. Number one.
Yeah, that's dragon greed right there.
Yeah. Just to mention as well, he's gone for the classic colors, but the box art actually has a much more muted gold, but he's gone for that really royal rich gold. So it's given some really nice contrast there. All right, let's move on to the next entry. Now, to complement the dwarves, we've got to show something a bit more gentle. Let's have a look. It's Arwen. Arwen Endermiel. He's actually chosen to go with one of the older sculpts. This is not the newest sculpt of Arwen, and I have to say he's done an excellent job. This sculpt is notoriously difficult to actually execute well because it is sculpted in a very like classic early 2000s Perry style. With the thicker swords, the very pronounced heads and bodies. So yeah, he's gone for a really cool lush basing as well, and again classic colors. It's even got the little Easter egg with the Frodo there. Love it. What do you think, Tom?
I saw this cloak and it actually made me want to repaint some of my elven cloaks that I've done on a couple of different models. I just really like how it's got that grey appearance, but it's not overwhelming within the cloak, and it just gives that a green that I haven't often seen in other models. So that right, it's odd that was the thing that stood out to me most. But I think that's just based off my painting experience. But I think overall, just everything about it, I like all the different things. I think looking from behind again, the blue has a lot of contrast within it, which I think the sculpt allows for. But yeah, from a very hard sculpt, he's done a good job.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that cloak there, Tom. Like I did a little bit of when I was doing my alerts, I did a couple of the scouts stealing away Merry and Pippin, and I try to like look at some reference photos for the cloaks that you see. And I know it's not quite the same as the Fellowship cloak, but it does a really good job of sort of mimicking that, and it's a bloody hard color to get right. This paint job is killer given the sculpt. This is rad. I love the tone that we've got going on, particularly for Arwen's blue. And what I think is also what this model has done to me, and I think it's a mark of a good paint job, is it's actually really inspired me to actually crack out some elves, which will be to the bane of Scott listening to me. But yeah, this, and there's also something a little bit later of an elven influence that has definitely wanted me to crack out some of these gorgeous old periscopes and dive into some elves, because this is killer, and I want to get a slice of it myself.
When I saw this model, I'm a sucker for great bases. And I saw this base and I'm just like, wow. Not to take away from the model's excellent, but to me, the base really sells it.
Mhm.
Like you could just see the scene in the movie almost, because they're riding across wilderness, like they're getting chased, and it just brings a bit of life. It's kind of that very small slice of life that they've captured on the base there. Like just on both of them, I just think it's the splash of yellow, the hint of orange, lots of grass, and there's variation in the grass as well. Like I see it and I'm like, oh, fantastic. I'm really jealous because on dwarves you can't really do lush bases because it kind of comes up to their waist and it's just like, this is not Vietnam, this is Middle Earth. Like it kind of gets a bit too much. So to see this is a real treat. There are a lot of things on this model that I think are done so well. And they're really small things. Like it can be a little hard to see, but if you look at Frodo's cloak, you can see there's a bit more texture on it. Just a smidgen. Like the model, the photo starts to go a bit out of focus there at the back towards the tail of the horse, but you can clearly see between Frodo's cloak and then Arwen's clothes, like her clothes are much smoother, and it definitely comes across as like the difference that you would see, I guess, in elven clothing versus homespun hobbit clothing or traveler's cloak. So it's kind of captured, and the color palette there is really captured that like dirty, dusty traveler's cloak, and then nice clean blue elven clothes of a fair elven maiden. I also like the fact that there are eyebrows painted, as we can see.
In
Two
every
things.
pose as well.
Yeah, two things about that. One, eyes can be super hard to do, and it's often easy to give one of your models a lazy eye. Arwen doesn't have a lazy eye. She is fierce, she is focused, and her eyebrows are like, I don't need no man. Like, it's like, Eowyn, are you coming at me? Because I will cut you. So, yeah, fantastic. I think it's captured really well. There's a lot of attitude on the foot version there coming off her. And yeah, man, I love the base. Like I keep seeing, I'm like, that is so cool.
Yeah, and he's actually gotten this is just a small selection of the photos that he has given me. So when the polls go up and when I get around to it, I'll definitely upload the full album there because he has taken a lot of really cool photos of this one there. So thank you, Matt. What a great model. All right,
I think just on that one as well, the reflection on the sword is just a nice little touch. Again, to bring that face focus back.
It's got that hint of
You
blue.
don't really notice it fully at first,
Yeah.
but it's just a nice,
very cool
little one.
All right, so we're going to move on to the next one. Now, this next one is a bit of a curveball. Let's have a look. We have Thomas entering a goblin captain or a goblin chieftain for Goblin Town. Now, the first thing you'll notice is this model is actually a Age of Sigmar model. But I have to say, with the color palette that he's chosen, the posing, the actual specific pose he's chosen, the basing he's used really kind of gives it a like a Tolkien, Weta Workshop, Middle Earth feel. So I reckon this really works. I also like how it kind of alludes to that there is another aesthetic out there for Middle Earth. It doesn't have to be the ones that are from the movie, and I think this really sells that idea as well. And he's got like a cheeky little head there to kind of sell the universe and the savagery of the model, and the savagery of the character that this scary character is kind of portraying. So yeah, what do you think, Rupert?
Yeah, just with that comment about that slightly different to or adjacent to what a workshop aesthetic, what this reminds me of is some of the characters that you see in like the Shadow of War. Shadow of Mordor game. I always get those confused, but it's sort of got that real, because to me the stars of those shows were the orcs that were generated and the goblins in that, and this to me really mimics that really well. And I think the conversion work here is really smart. Like that skull on the back, not only is the volume work really nicely, particularly when you see that reverse view, but it does such a good job of framing the model. You've got this really interesting triangle going on up the top of the model to capture your focus. And then just below that, you've got the unique color that's nowhere else on the model for the teeth. I'm a big fan of that work. I think the blood work is really well done. It's the red on that is really well contrasted with the green of the skin. Basis killer, yeah, this is really cool. Particularly, it's wonderful to see some of the AOS models adapted for Middle Earth.
Yeah, it's an interesting point actually, because I was thinking exactly what you said. Shadows of Mordor. Like I see it, and I'm like, yep, I'm instantly transported back to just the clips of playing that game where you're either converting or killing, one of Sauron's captains. Yes, it's one of the newer models. Yeah, it's not technically like a Lord of the Rings or Middle Earth range, but it fits so well. Like this to me, it definitely comes across as, what I would imagine. Yes, it's a Goblin captain for Goblin Town, but for me, it's not a stretch too far to be like a Moria Black Shield captain. It's not unreasonable. Aesthetically, it fits in all of those right holes. Again, I'm a sucker for a great base, and I really appreciate just the really fine reads here. Like, it's 100% a display model. I know I wouldn't want to play with reads like that because they'll get bent. Like, they'll get a bit played. But like you see this and you're just like, oh, cool, and you could just imagine. And again, what you said is about the blood splatter. That is so hard to pull off well. Blood splatter is very much one of those things where it's like less is more. But you look at this and it's like, well, that actually kind of fits. You could just imagine him butchering his way through a whole bunch of men of Middle Earth. It's not too much, and it's very easy to have this cool paint job, and it's just like, oh, now it's all red. I can't tell you the number of like corn berserkers I've seen where people are like, yeah, it's got blood on him. It's like, yeah, cool, man.
Did you have any painting with that blood? Yeah.
So yeah, stellar job. Definitely really like it. And yeah, you're right. That skull on the back, like just the shading on that is 10 out of 10, top notch.
Yeah, I think just everything about the model is a top notch job. But that basing really does, I think, bring it back to the Middle Earth aesthetic. At least for me personally. I mean, I have no idea. I didn't know it was an AOS model. I just thought it was a proxy from somewhere. That shows my depth of knowledge with the Games Workshop systems, other than the best one. But it's, I think like the skin really just shows that it is like sweaty and obviously clearly from battle, but then there's just so much contrast around the entire miniature that everything pops that needs to pop, and it just allows for the good parts to show off even more than they already do otherwise. Just nice.
Yeah, really nice. Even the photo itself is really nice. It's got a velvet background and everything. All right, now let's move on to our next lovely model. We've got one of our great community leaders, Adam Jenkinson, with his Lake Town King Bard. Look at that, very cool. So this is something that that is, usually with Middle Earth models, they tend to be a little bit old, and this is actually one of the newest sculpts to come out of Forge World. What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, look, first thing, I'm actually impressed that it's done so quick. It didn't seem like that long ago that he came out. He is kind of bleeding edge new. The thing that first stood out to me when I saw this was actually the eyes again. Eyes are just they're hard to do, right? A lot of people can't do them right, but he's got this mad side eye going on. He just looks like you could just see him there defending the Dale or outside the gates of Erebor, and he's like, you done messed up now, son. Like he's just the eyes really bring in a lot of motion to the model there. The sculpt was already good, but you could just see he's like a coiled spring now, because he's looking off to just off to his left. He's ready to pivot around with his big shield and just pretty much yeet hack right through whatever's coming to him. Cool. I actually really appreciate the color scheme as well. I think red and blue is a really hard scheme to pull off, because they're not really good complementary colors. They're two primary colors, so it can be really hard to actually pull that off. But by using the brown and then the warm gold as well, kind of helps bring it all together, and it works. And it's, again, just like Thror's sword and shield, the blue sword, the blue shield, it does lend that balance to the model, that if it was a steel sword, it might look a bit weird having a blue shield. But by having that blued sword, it kind of balances out very nicely.
Ruben?
Yeah, actually, that's a great point. Kind of like that first model that we saw, where we've just got that hint of the blue on that opposite end of the model, and also with the kilt tunic that we've got going on, got a really nice sort of blue triangle going on the miniature, which I think is great. And also, to add to that point about the color composition, not only is it blue and red, but we also basically have all three primary colors in the blue, red, and gold. And sometimes that can be really hard to do without sort of getting the Superman effect, and I think this is really well done with that yellow NMM work in there. I'm actually just really drawn to the base. Like, it's obviously not as as fleshed out as the previous one, but it just feels so real. Like, just that one little grass tuft under the foot, and obviously with the cobblestones as well. It feels super lifelike, and the tones in there, the subtle variation across it, I think does a really good job just to sell a miniature, and where you're fighting. It's something that I obsess over endlessly. Is basing my models, and this is killer. And yeah, absolutely agree with you, Scotty. This guy is just ready to yeet himself into someone else next, and I love that personality that the eyes carry across.
I think it's a very clean model. Like, when I first saw this one in the Facebook chat when he posted it, I just thought, like, everything just looks neat and, like, just in its spot. There's no bleeding across the colors. Like, it's very clear what's what, particularly in that shot on the right where you can see, like, that down the line view, and you just look at the shield, and, like, everything about it's just crisp edges. It's very neat, tidy. The front greaves are, I mean, maybe it's just the sculpt, but I think he's just done an amazing job of, whether it's black lining, all the detail, or just making sure that those contrast points are really, really popping to just get everything to stand out as clear, which is probably why that he's managed to pull off such a hard color combination.
Yeah, look, I reckon this is definitely a really big favorite of mine. I like the story that he's telling with the color choices. So he's gone for the brown for the armor, and that's very reminiscent of the original Dale color scheme with the browns and the reds. And he's also got that red cloak. So you can easily see that King Brand, he's restored an ancient heirloom piece of armor from the glory days of Dale, and he's bringing that into the future. He's also got the blue from the sword and the shield, representing the men of Esgaroth. Like, everything about this is screaming theme to me. Also, note the base. He's gone for the stonework. He's painted it just like that reddy orange stone that you'd find in a city of Dale. Just like from the scenes in the first Hobbit movie. I can easily see this as him defending the bridge, when the Easterlings are trying to cross, or he's trying to hold back the tides of evil as his people are retreating to Erebor. It's really cool. I really love it. All right, now let's move on to our next model. Now this one's a classic. We do see this one quite a lot in a lot of painting events. Unfortunately, like, this is one of my most favorite models in the range, but unfortunately it's not a model that you see much in armies, but in painting comps and in painting events and all that sort of thing. It's just an incredible model to paint, and let's just have a look. I guess you guys can already guess it, what it is. It's Galadriel. Wow. All right. What do you think, Rupert?
I'm instantly taken by just that gorgeous yellow, pale blue contrast that you've got going on. The hair is done really well to just draw your focus to the top of the model. And I guess also with that is the volumetric and zenithal lighting that Jack's got going on here is really well done. I'm actually reading a book at the moment, and that's been my main sort of takeaway from the book is to really use the brightness across the miniature to draw the viewer to the focal point, which is almost always the face. And this is a perfect example of it. The ring is just perfectly done. I know I think I tried to paint this once as a kid, and I could never. And I think the ring sculpt was shocking. I love it. The base also works really well. Just got nice variation, and the tufts just add nice little spots of color. And the brightness from the tufts also sort of just do a good job to sort of sandwich the model in a nice brighter tone. And yeah, it just helps frame it really well. I'm sure you boys will cover the rest, but yeah, this is killer. Really big fan of this Jack.
Yeah.
I
What?
think.
Oh, you go
Sorry,
ahead, Tom.
go ahead. Oh, thank you. I think you've done such a good job of pushing those highlights as well, just to give that really elf-like appearance across all areas of the model. It just really enhances the whole look. And then, I mean, I'm a massive fan of the dark green rim. It just really, for a classic model, it gives even more of a classic appearance when you can see a green base rim. It's slightly darker, so it doesn't have that really vibrant, what is it, the lime green from the good old days.
Goblin
Yeah,
green.
yeah, but yeah, I really like it. I like the hair a lot. It's kind of, it has those deep recesses that this model shows so well, and then all those different highlighting layers. I think he's done a really good job around the face to bring it all together.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if the rim was black or like a really dark green. I'm not sure which one it is still, but I like it nonetheless. I think it's good to see um, different rim colors. So, bit of background, like my dwarf armies, I'm always like, yeah, black rim gang, like all about the black rims. But it's actually never a pure black because sometimes pure black can be too strong on your models. It can frame it too hard. It can kind of be a little jarring. So I think these are slightly green. I could be wrong, but in the photo it looks slightly green, and it definitely does help to tie a lot of it together. It does. It just brings the model nicely together. I think this model, like Galadriel, has always been like a crowd favorite for competition painting. I can't tell you how many Golden Demons I've seen um, where she is in one of the top three. This particular model, and I think here it is no exception. It's a great model. It's well executed. I really like the fade as well. Like it's almost a classic paint job on her. In that you see her in the movies in that gauze, like gossamer white blue, very light material. Here it's a little stronger, particularly down towards the bottom, but it works really well. Because one of the things that you have to remember as a miniature painter, it can be very hard to sell the sense of scale at a mini scale. So yeah, no, great job. I like it a lot. I think there's a lot of really hard things here that have been executed pretty well. And yeah, good job.
Yeah, look, I really think he's done a really good job here. He's one of the things that I kind of make fun of this all the time with you guys as well. When it comes to painting this particular model, it's so easy for the hair to look like mammy noodles, right? And he's done such a great job in terms of that volume, as you said, that volumetric zenithal effect that he's used actually gives it so much depth. You can see the browns and the golden yellows, and then all the way to this really like crispy white yellow that he's used right on the locks there, and it's almost like sun is shining through the hair at certain angles, and it's giving that sort of variation. Very cool. He's also managed to sell the blue eyes really well as well, and you can clearly see that. One of the problems with painting eyes in different colors is sometimes it's very difficult to sell the effect, and he's done really well there. And as you said, it's almost the way he's kind of blended and kind of done the work from the brightest point from the head all the way down to like a dark point in the bottom of the model. It's given this sort of ethereal feel to it, and I think it really works to sell the narrative of the model as well. So really well done there, Jack. Really well done. All right, another elf, and with elves, we're gonna have to pair it with another dwarf. Now, this one's pretty cool. It's also a very classic model. Let's have a look. It's Dra. What do you think, Tom?
Oh, I actually really like this model, just full stop. So as soon as I saw this one as one of the entries, I thought I'm giving this the love react straight away. But I think he's done such a good job of like all the colors that he's chosen have the same, like, I don't know if dull's the right word, but they all fit that same aesthetic. There's not one color here that just jumps out as overly vibrant compared to the rest. Even the skin tone seems to match all the colors that he's chosen across the whole model. So it just gives a really harmonious appearance. Like the metal is still ties in with all the clothing. So yeah, I mean overall this is one of my favorites purely because the colors don't jump out against each other. They all just match in and they blend really nicely to just give overall like it's just very pleasant to look at. I could look at this model all day, I think.
Yeah, I find myself
Yeah.
getting lost in the detail. Like, I'm a sucker for dwarves. I was going to say more about them. Like, I'm an even bigger sucker for like nice painted dwarves, but like I just like dwarves. But what if I look? Let me park my deep love for dwarves to the side here for a moment and look at this from a painting point of view. There's a lot of really well executed things here. So not only is the palette excellent, it's a matching. It's been washed out a lot, so it looks like there's a lot of white in the mixes there. So in his green mix, instead of maybe highlighting with like a bleach bone, sort of like beige color or bone color mixed in it, it looks like there's been a bit of white added in there just to kind of wash out a smidgen. And then if we go a little deeper than that, right, like beyond the colors and selection and the taste choice there, there's lots of really great detail. Like look at the leather work, instead of the traditional fine edge line highlighting, we see some I don't know what the actual technique you would call it, but you can see the well worn leather there from using like I guess a stippling sort of effect as you do your edge highlight. So it kind of looks like not only thread, but it can kind of pass for like cracking leather or well worn leather, like it's been used. Like Dra's an adventurer. He's not he doesn't sit around in a garrison. He's out there. And what he uses, he keeps with him from, I think he's 60. I know he's an invention, but he's not particularly young if you think about the time frame between where this could be and where he starts out. Because if memory serves, he starts out in the Iron Hills and then he ends up over in Gondor by the War of the Ring, and then you've got War of the North. So he gets around a bit. And again, like with the wood grain, it does look like a Yubo would. It's that pale light color. It's very easy to paint bows very dark, which is fine, but here it does look just like a nice piece of yew that he's picked up, and he's it's trusty. He's had it for ages. So yeah, I keep getting lost here in the detail of the model. Like I'm just looking, I'm like, oh wow, look at the belt, look at the pouch, like look at his little booties. One thing I will point out here as well, as you may recall from earlier, where I'm like, oh, this is ridiculous. Dwarves don't have cool bases because they're too short. You can see here, this is just the standard tuft, and it's like up to his knees. Like one tuft is enough, right? Like you can see it looks great. One tuft is enough, because if we did more tufts here, you'd just be like, where are his feet? He'd be floating. So yeah, I see this and I'm just like, stamp of approval, like bam, in.
Rupert?
Great. Well said, Scotty. I always love your enthusiasm. Yeah, look, with the tuft, it actually helps size the model as a dwarf. Obviously, there are a lot of other things that are very dwarven about it, but I dig that. What really stood out to me the first time I looked at this model, the wood grain on the bow, really well done, subtle, but it just makes the wood feel alive. And with that, I'm not sure if it's freehand. I don't know the sculpt well myself, but whether it's freehand or edge highlighting, it's still really well done. The beard work is excellent, and the hair as well. It's sort of, it's not it's not too over the top where it looks messy, and it's not super simple where it looks like he's got a single thing. But I think that's really well done. And also the facial expression, just again, eyebrows really selling this model, and then just those squinty eyes. You can just see this guy's lining the shot up, and I think those things are really well done and make this model just a delight to look at. I also really want to see the back. I have no idea what else he's got going on
I
in
had
his
that as
belt.
well. I was like, I want to copy
Yeah,
this
I
scheme
want
for
to
my
pick it
one.
up and turn it
show us the
around.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, also with what you said, Tom, I think it's quite a muted palette, but it's done really well. Not many things in Lord of the Rings tend to be very saturated, and I think this is really nicely done. It's also hard to work within those muted palettes to still get differentiation between details of the model. So I think, Jared, you've done an absolutely killer job here, mate. Yeah, thanks for submitting that. That's killer.
I
Yeah.
really like that front pouch though. I don't know if it's
Mm.
got that, like the combo of the green and the brown down the bottom of it, but
Mm.
it almost gives that effect that he's put something wet in there and it's just had that over a long time, the slow build up. It's very
Yeah.
nice.
We can speculate on what's in that pouch. Maybe a ham sandwich or something. That'd be cool. Look, Jared's a well-known painter in the circles here in the Australian MESBG community. He posts some very killer paint jobs in the chat. He's a bit of a machine as well, pumping out a lot of really high quality paint jobs all the time, and it's really a delight to see that here he's executed again. He's gone for the slightly muted but still very distinct and carefully picked color choices. It fits really well with the whole sort of low-ish fantasy world that Tolkien is alluded to be. And yeah, I'm just in love with it. Like really cool. He's also gone for the black rim base, which I'm a big fan of personally.
It works very well. Yeah.
Yeah, it just frames the model as well. And look, hopefully I'll have a chat with Jared and maybe we can get a back shot, a butt shot of this model. What do you reckon?
Yeah, if memory serves, there's a good bit of detail on the back there. I can't remember if it's Murin or Dra, but one of them has a bedroll. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
it's got some cool like back bits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pot pan, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm just going to interject here before we move on to the next model. The polls actually have gone live, so if you guys are at part of the Australian Middle Earth Strategy Battle Game Community Facebook group, just check out the poll that I recently just posted about 5 minutes ago. Get voting. We'll make our way through all the rest of the posts as well. So yeah, vote for your favorite one. You can vote multiple times as well. It's all about celebrating the awesome hobby that we've already seen and will see in the next uh, couple of slides as well. All right, let's move on. Now, this next one is our very own Rupert. You've submitted one for this event as well, and it's great to actually have one of the painters here to kind of have a sneak peek into the madness that is a hobbyist. All right, into the mad minds or the mad genius of Rupert. So let's have a look at this next one. A classic sculpt here. In fact, Rupert, he doesn't pull any punches. He's actually given us a video. So let me see if I can get this moving.
I'll just mention
There we
it's
go.
very unprofessional with some finger action going on to turn it around.
Look, it's a manual spin, but I feel like this is what Lurtz would have done. He
Yeah,
wouldn't have
right.
gone for
I was
an
hoping for
automatic.
some music over the top when I first clicked play. A little carousel.
Da-na-na.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna start with this one. Like, look, with this one, amazing job. It's really hard to nail the Weta Workshop style, especially at this scale, and especially in this particular scheme, Urukai Scouts or Urukai in general, it's really hard to kind of get that distinct look between all the different materials because all the different materials are painted or colored very, in a very dark scheme in the actual Weta Workshop scheme. So, you've done a really good job in highlighting the different materials with the texture work. You've also gone for a different sort of glazes and effects on the metals with the leather work. This sculpt is a difficult one. He's a bit chubby in the center, and the head's a little bit small. It's sort of a notoriously finicky model to paint and show off, but really well done, man. Really well done. What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, look, hang on. I'm going to move it onto my main screen here now. Rupert, you know, I know you pretty well, so it's no surprising here. No surprise, sorry, here you don't pull any punches. There's a lot of things here that stand out to me. There are definitely things like, I see and I'm like, hmm. One of them, obviously, the first one for me is the sword. I just said, I'm like, yeah. Though interesting that it looks like here on the photo that there's no scratches on the underside of the sword. Like, is that right? Like, looking here, it's all on the top, um, which is fine. But I see it. I'm like, is that the chopping side? Does he just like cut heads off a lot, which he would do? He's Lurtz.
I actually always wondered about that. Which side is the chopping side of the Urukais? So I guess the way he's holding it here would imply that's the opposite side. Hey,
So yeah, I saw that and it was the same thing, but it because of all the different texture effects you've made, it almost looks like it's Damascus steel. And I was like, you've clearly like upgraded the weaponry of these Urukai to be exceptional bladesmiths.
I like the addition of the bow and the quiver as well.
I think the fletching's amazing. So many times I've seen this model, and you just can never tell where the hair ends and where the arrows start. Just because people try and copy that very dark arrow aesthetic, but these ones really just pop on the back.
There's a lot of texture here,
Yeah,
and that's what I like, right? So his skin, it's clean and smooth. Like, it's not clean and smooth, but it's clean and smooth compared to the rest of the model because it's skin. It's not like compare it to like the leather from the rear there, and it looks, again, it just looks really dirty and well worn. As you would expect on the bum rag of a big Urukai, it would be just filthy, right? And then his hair, it sells that greasiness because there's the white edge highlights up the very top there, like, and again, as it hits the back there, so it looks not wet. It just looks a bit chat, it looks a bit filthy. Again, scratches on the shield. I like that you've done them properly. You can see that there's a lot of volume in the scratch work there on the shield. It's very hard for some people maybe to see it in the photo, but if you look real close, you can see there's the shadow in those scratch works there just on the top, so to give them that little bit more volume so you can see the depth. Overall as well, the hand, I like it a lot. It just, it's often you see the Urukai hands and they're like super too neat, which is great, and it makes a lot of sense because it's easier to do it that way. But this one, like, it looks like it's been just sweaty. It's a bit filthy. Like, it's clearly just, he got like high-fived on the 5 head by Saruman, but it works. So yeah, Roop's like, can't wait to kill him with Dane though. Like, get ready.
Oh boy, just you wait. I'll knock you over with the shield. We're good.
Look, Dane took on like Lurtz and 13 Urukai, man. You got a tall order ahead of you, son. Dwarf number 1.
Yeah, well, it's great to actually have you here, Rupert, to get some insight. So tell us a little bit about your approach. You've gone for that really realistic look. Tell us how you kind of tackled that challenge.
So look, I was doing as we have hopefully all done, a rewatch of the Lord of the Rings in lockdown. And once again, I was just taken by the scene and I was like, yep, time to crack him out. So yeah, looking at the reference photos, he is just so dark. Everything is like, it's not even like it's a reddy black skin. It's like black red skin, and it's black brown leather, and it's black bow, black fletching, black quiver, black steel. So yeah, it's definitely, you have to take some liberties, otherwise it's just going to come out really muddy. But just using a lot of black on the wet palette to just keep the tones desaturated and greys as well. Not going to those bright, not using colors like Mornfang brown, which is quite a saturated brown, helps you sort of get brighter, and so you get obviously your brightness contrast on the model, but without adding the color that, to me, I didn't want it on the model. The skin, I think I used it was almost about a 50-50 black and Wordbearers red, which is a really nice newish color from Games Workshop. Perfect for, in my opinion, the Berserker skin, which I'm hopefully going to crack around to having a go at sometime. Look, a lot of things on this model was stippling, so the leather working up to brighter than you normally would, just with stabbing motions with the brush. And then I did I think it was a contrast or a thinned agrax over the top just to knock it back and help blend it all together. And it kind of gives it that cracked, worn bum flap leather look, as Scotty so lovely said. And yeah, you've totally called me out on the sword, Scotty. I didn't even think about that. I was just going downwards mainly just because that's where the light will come from, and so I wanted to pick out those directions a bit more. But yeah, I probably should have done from some scratches coming from the bottom up. But I also worry that the sword might not be wide enough, and it might just get a little bit confused. So yeah, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, you know what I would have done is actually on the other side is done really fat dark scratches.
Oh yeah, you go the opposite way.
Yeah, to keep with the light direction, but go few and fatter.
Yeah.
You would probably have to go back over it to get the nice sharp like point of the angular like scratched, like make it look like a proper triangle. But yeah, I'd probably I guess that might be
point,
something to think about is doing it that way, because you could do the reverse, right? And actually like you've done the scratches on the shield, you could do the reverse and paint them upside down.
Yeah, that's actually a great idea. Look, the nightmare on this model was its eyes. So it's one thing to have just hollowed out sockets, which you can kind of freehand an eye on. These were, I'm not sure whether it was an eyelid or an attempt at an eyeball sculpt, but particularly on Lurtz's left eye, it is so far off, and that was just a nightmare to do right, or to get it looking somewhat non-derpy was almost half the time of the model was just fixing that one eye.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I remember you telling me that the eye was munted, and you're like, worst. I can't get it. You can't get. Yeah, no, it looks fine. He doesn't look cross-eyed. Doesn't look like he's got a lazy eye.
I think it looks more than fine. The fact that you can pick up both pupils from like pictures at this distance.
Look, you'd really hope that Saruman didn't 5-head him so hard that he like concussed him, right? So,
or just developed like cataracts or something.
Yeah.
Look, really good job. Yeah, it's a challenging model, and you've done a really good job. Thank you, Rupert.
Thank you.
And it's nice seeing that the grass tufts aren't trip hazards as well. And a model can
definitely gives you a sense of scale on draw, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to our next entry. Now, this one, early on we mentioned Lawrence had submitted the first submission. Now, this one is pretty much one of the last ones, coming in. He started 3 hours before the actual deadline. So, that alone is incredibly amazing and impressive to pull off a paint job of this quality. So let's have a look. It's a Warrior of the Dead by Andreas. Okay, what do we think, Tom?
Well, first of all, it's got bonus points for converting. That's always anyone can put in that much effort for the models deserve some points. But I really like. I like the theme that this gives. It gives the flashbacks to the movies where they're all coming out of the surfaces all together. It's really. I like the aesthetic. I was looking back at some of mine that are unprimed, and it's almost making me want to go back and do a couple of these within the army for whenever that surfaces and makes an appearance in some way. But yeah, I like the posing. It's cool with the different, like it gives the variation to this army that it definitely needs within the model range. I hate repeating poses, so this is a very clever way of getting around that without heavily altering the models itself. But then the paint job as well, it isn't just one gradual highlight of grays or different greens, but it has yellow mixed in and like variation within the color, so it gives some interest to what is otherwise can often be a very simple paint job. And the fact that it was done in 3 hours is even more impressive, I think.
Yeah, less than 3 hours. It's like 2 hours and 40 something minutes. Incredible. What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, I'm just like, I wish I could paint a model in 3 hours. What a dream. Nah, look, I think it's really well executed. Like Tom's right, it brings back a lot of flashbacks to the movie. You know, it is just kind of creeping out of that rock there. Or not even, he's kind of like full on flying out, ready to have a go at Gimli and get blown away. But yeah, no, look, it's one of those things, you might say, oh, well, it's really easy to kind of just slap on some wash and blah, 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 blah. Like, yeah, sure, whatever, man. But there's a lot of color here that you kind of have to look a little deeper into. There's the tarnishing there. There's more than just a simple wash. There's a couple of different colors thrown in. There's some edge highlighting underneath it or around it just to kind of help bring out the detail there. Like it kind of pops out. So yeah, no, nicely executed. I want to know if it's like a herald or if it's an objective marker, or if it's just a random guy. Like maybe as Army of the Dead, I like quote unquote warband leader. But yeah, cool. 10 out of 10. I would play against it and be like, can I see it over this hilltop? Yeah, I can. Cool, I'm shooting it.
Rupert, what do you think?
Yeah, this is so cool. Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that, Scotty. I was like, oh, is this counts as herald or something like an objective marker, or is this just part of a battle line? And having a battle line like this would be so cool and so different and unique. Also, yeah, very impressive that like not only was this done so quickly, but it doesn't even look like the shades are wet still. So you must have cracked out the hairdryer or something, mate, to get it all done in time. And I'm also really taken by the tone that we've got going on for the ghost boy himself. To me, it looks like we've got some blues and some bluey greens, and then also I can't quite tell if it's like a sepia or a slightly yellow color. I'm gonna probably say it's like a sepia color, and it's kind of almost just been randomly. I don't want to say splodged because that's got negative connotations, but just in random spots across the model, it's just being hit to just add some really nice difference and interest to it, and just break up the blue and greens, and also help bring the focus up to the top to to what should be the focal piece of the model. This is really cool. Great job, Andreas.
Yeah, look, this is when I see this model, I didn't even need to know it's from Andreas. I can tell because he's got this style that is just very subtle, very neat, very controlled. You know, it's very tempting to just like slather wash over a Army of the Dead, but no, he's gone for this really um, measured approach into executing this model, and it shows with all his painting, and it shows here, like he's got that subtle shifts in tone from the that gives it a really cool ghostly effect that really mirrors the movie. So it's very common to see just the green sort of wash over the models, and this actually replicates the movie a lot better because in the movies you've got yellows and greys and all sorts of different colors with the Army of the Dead. Um, yeah, and it's just really neat for 3 hours. I just got to say, the stonework is really nice, really neat. Little skulls, it's like little touch, like it's very thematic. Um, I'm gonna go opposite, and I want to see a whole warband like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I want to see a whole warband with just dudes coming out of rocks, and that could be the rock warband or something
Yeah,
like
it
that.
really makes the terror like it gives off the vibe of terror. I
Yeah,
think if
I
if they're just standing on their feet, it's just like it's just
yeah
men with shabby clothes. But when
yeah
something actually comes out of a rock, I'm like, oh, okay, might
yeah
need to roll some dice here to move.
yeah.
Um,
If I was a Corsair, I'd be scared.
yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Now, this next one um, is from a range that is quite dear to my heart. It's the Easterling range. Now, he has gone for a very cool conversion, so let's have a look. It's an AMDO. Now, we are looking specifically at the central model there with the dude holding the saber with the two hands by Geordie here. Um, what do you think, Scott?
Yeah, look, the first thing that really strikes me is how striking it is. Um, it's definitely a style that you kind of have to take a step back to really get a great sense, and it's kind of hard to see here because one of the photos is a little bit blurry. Um, but strong highlights like this, like they're just so, and it's not metallics as well. Like the strong highlights, it actually works so well. It's easy to think that when you've got to paint a model, you've got to paint it a certain way, right? And it can be really hard to kind of break your thinking around how that's done. We're often taught like a heavy metal style, which is, super fine edge highlights and lots of like, pin washing and like black lining and those sorts of things to kind of get it really crisp. But here, the crispness is achieved in non-traditional ways of painting. Someone might say, "Oh, well, the highlights are quite thick." And it's like, yeah, but it sells it so well. Like it's so striking. Like you could look across the table at this and be like, "Wow." I know I would see this and go, "Wow, that is so bright." Like it is like the gleaming horde, and it's sold so well because it's just a beautifully executed aesthetic, and that's what it really is. It's an aesthetic choice, and it's done actually really well here, in my opinion. I think it looks great. I think it's a really cool conversion too. Actually, as I'm assuming it's Amder here. Um,
Yeah.
he's got a big fat sword. Like, yeah, that's right. It almost to me evokes Indiana Jones, like, the guy with the
Oh,
big
yeah,
the sword. He's
yeah.
like just getting flashy, but of course, no one in Middle Earth has a gun, so just hope there's no like taskmasters around to whip him. But I like the cloth work as well because again, you can see the hatching from a fair distance away, and again with the pinpricks of white there in the middle of the cross hatching, it sells that gossamer, like it sells the shiny silk. Um, this is one of those armies or like paint styles that sells lighting really well. And yeah, it's done well here. Like I like it a lot. I could see this, and you can see it in the background. Like you could just see the brightness of the army that would and the presence it would have on the table. Like cool, just straight up. Like I'd say that like this army sig, like cool. I'd be so. This is why I want to go to tournaments. Like for me, tournaments are always about seeing really cool armies, and then the privilege of playing cool armies. And this is 100% cool, like big cool.
Yeah, I hate the tease of like a blurry banner in the background when I look at this. It's because like just this aesthetic and style of painting is something that I've tried it once and I just looked terrible, so I gave up. But it's seen it in other models and other people's. Like I'm always very impressed whenever people can paint like this. But it is that idea of imagining this across the whole army would be very, very impressive to see. I think it really captures that when you look from as a like when you're playing the game and you're looking from that distance, painting in this style is just so much clearer from what I've seen in other people's work. That it just I'm very keen to see this in person at some point in my life. I think it'd be very, very impressive, and hopefully it has a display board by then to bring it all together.
Ribbit?
I'd be keen to see anyone else's models at this point in my life, to be quite honest, face to face. But no, you're always absolutely right. This is Geordie. This is so striking, Scotty. I think you hit the nail on the head. Like you'll see this across the table and be like, "Yep, I know exactly where Amdur is. I'm terrified now." Uh, Props for quite a few things, man. Like, firstly, the just carrying out NMM across an army, like already very very well done, dude. Like that takes some real sheer force of will that I'm super impressed with. And really nice wood grain on the bases as well. That's really nicely done. You've obviously got really nice control of freehand because obviously you can see it on the cloak work that Scotty was talking about, and obviously for the NMM, and then also the wood grain on the base as well. All not easy things to do, and they've all come out really nicely. So you should be really proud of yourself for that. I'd love to see this. I don't know how thematic it is, but on like a Goblin Town board, so that wood grain can like really fit in and be a part of it. I think that would be such a delight to see. Hopefully, if we get back to some events sometime soon. But Geordie, top job, dude. This is such a striking model, and really well done, mate.
Yeah, the execution of this just really strikes me. Like literally, I'm stuck on the three words of bold, like bright and striking. Like that's the kind of the theme here. And yeah, I see it. And I'm just like, wow, cool, like excellent. And it's so hard to pull off, and it's done well. Like I like it.
And I also like how it's so from memory, Amdo, his weapon is hand and a half blade, and so I also like how obviously Eric, you're talking about the conversion, but I also like how the conversion sells that as well.
Yeah,
So
look,
it's the arms from the mounted version, isn't it?
I believe so. So
Yeah.
he's gone for a much more dynamic pose compared to the original Amder. Look, let's start with the conversion work. Very cool. He's got this flowing robe action going, which is also really cool to sell that motion of he's about to chop you up. And look, this is a really cool interpretation of Amder. Compared to, the original model is scary, and it looks like he's approaching you and kind of sizing you up for a duel, that sort of feel. But this one is the moment of the kill, right? It's got the really cool action pose that really sells that idea of an incredible duelist, and that's the theme of Amdo, right? And you're right. I'm gonna hold out and hope that I get to see this army fully done in person, because it's going to be really cool to look across an entire army done in this way and to this degree. So yeah, and look, looking forward to more pictures of this army, Geordie. Really well done.
I really like
Just
how
before, sorry, I'll let you get Tom.
No, you go. I went first last time.
I was just going to say, I think just upon closer inspection, it looked like you've done some more freehand work around that centered diamond on the shields. I'd love to see another close up of that, but just even more flexing with your freehand brush control, dude. Awesome.
Yeah, I want to see the banner. That's a big point. And then I really like it looks like there's a gradient on the shields as well that matches the cloaks, which is just a nice touch. So more pictures needed, I think, is the takeaway.
Hell yeah. All right. Let's move on to our next one. We're going to return to a classic. Now, this is one of my favorite models in the range. It's a simple model, and he's gone for a classic color scheme as well. So let's have a look. Got Daniel coming in with the humble Druin's Folk metal dwarf warrior in the action pose. Look, I'm going to have to start with you, Scott. Tell us, how do you feel right now?
Oh, I'm Marie Kondo. This sparks great joy. These models are old, and yet they carry such weight with them. They're perfect for like a balance expedition. Cool models, timeless. If you can get your hands on some, I strongly urge you to do so. These came out well before the plastic ones did. There's only 3 poses, if memory serves. I'm fortunate enough to have a few. Daniel obviously has some as well. But let's jump into the actual paint job. But I will say the models are super cool. So already it's like, yeah, happy. All right. So first thing that stands out to me that I really like is the colored armor. It's so easy to kind of just give in and do like gold or silver armor. To make the choice of red, you know, it is a thing that happened. People dyed their armor, like, or they painted their leather, and it adds a lot of character to the model. It adds a lot of feeling and a bit of warmth and a bit of vibrancy and a bit of life to the model. So huge, like props for using red. I like as well that you can see on the back there that it is very neat. It's well shaded. So if you look at towards up the top of the arm there and down towards the back, you can see that it's slightly darker as well. But I think the color scheme overall, like red and gold's always been a winner. Using the black tunic to help separate out to the traditional Khazad-dûm green, because red and green, you get the Christmas effect, and that can be a bit, Christmassy. But by separating it out with the black tunic, um, you've managed to avoid that Christmas effect. So it's still identifiable as a Moriadorf, but maybe it's like a different household. So maybe, I don't know what it could be, like the Broadbeams, or it could be like the Iron Fist. But the point is that it's still identifiable. And you look at the shield again, you're managing to avoid that Christmas effect just by having the black around your red there. If you're going red banding straight onto green, it'd probably look like a bit like a tinsel ball. So yeah, thumbs up on execution there. It's a well executed, just humble kind of dwarf warrior. Like you'd see him like, yep, cool. And you can imagine 40 of these and be like, this is sick. Like this is why I get out of bed in the morning. So yeah, thanks Daniel. I appreciate you painting a dwarf and we get to see that.
Tom.
It's nice that you're saying this gets you out of bed in the morning, because when I first saw this pose, it just, to me, it always makes it look as though the dwarf's about to like start just banging on the door. And depending on how the fight's going, it could be trying to get out or get in somewhere and get more action. But I think the base of this model as well is very like it looks simple, but it's got a lot of detail just in itself. Like it's got the slight height variations to it, and it really sells that effect of like an underground area that isn't the most pristine floor that the dwarves have worked to some insane level, but it's just they're underground, they're on rocks. It's simple, it's nice, but it just elevates the model from just being an average but with a good paint job to everything just working together, like Scott was saying so well with the different color balance. But I can't fault this miniature when I look at it. Great model, great paint scheme.
Yeah, look, I'm gonna jump in here and mention that the scheme that he's gone for is so classic. Um, he's got the green. It's straight out from the Khazad Doom supplement, which was the first supplement that came out for the original game. Um, and the other thing is with colored armor, he's gone for that red, slightly maroon look with a little bit of gold. It's almost like this could also be like part of Gimli's household as well at some point. There's a lot of, I'm going to create my own headcanon, and, this is the scheme of the Glittering Caves even. I don't know if that actually is the case, Daniel, but look, that's already evoking those thematic juices in me, and that's what you want with color schemes and painting. So really well done. I love dwarves, and I don't know if I like him as much as Scott, but, dwarves are somewhat number one. I'm going to give you that. Rupert, what do you think?
I love this model and I love this paint scheme, Dan. This is killer. It looked. I got back into the hobby and I was like, you know what? I really want to do a dwarf army. And then the two people I speak to most are Scott and Eric, and they both have Moria dwarves army, so I can't be the third bloody guy to do it. So I'm jealous of your freedom to do this, and you've done a killer job with it, mate. I really dig the green tone and the red tone. They work really well together. It's not common to see green and red working properly together, but yeah, the framing with the black and the gold trim is great. I really like the texture on the base. I actually wouldn't mind troubling you for that recipe just to get that. It's just, it feels so real. It doesn't look like someone's put basing onto a miniature. It actually looks like, something you would see inside a mine, a dwarven mine. Just, some shabby rock all over the place, and it works really well. I think this is killer. The subtle tone on the beard and the volumetric work with some nice freehanding on that as well to get the little lines popping out. Look killer. Top job, Dan. Love it.
I only just noticed it, but I think the stubby holder as well just really adds theme to the dwarf aesthetic with the model as well.
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of classic sculpts, we're going to move on to the next one. This is another extremely classic one. In fact, this is probably, if you've, you know, been interested in Middle-earth strategy battle game or Lord of the Rings in general, or Lord of the Rings Warhammer, or any variation thereof, you probably have this model lying around. And let's have a look.
I have 3.
All right,
None
we got.
painted.
Yeah. Look, there's a reason why this one is really popular. It's Aragon by Vivek here, and specifically this is the pose where this is the Helm's Deep one. This is the Two Towers pose. What do you think, Rupert?
Look, I'm a sucker. This is, for me, the best Aragon pose, and I think, Vivek, you've done a killer job here. Just got that face with that just grim determination that Aragon just portrays throughout that whole scene, which is just awesome. also looks like you did a really good job to differentiate the different sort of clothing that he wears. So similar to the issue that I had with Lurtz, where a lot of his stuff is just brown. But just the subtle work that you've done, it hasn't made it not brown, but there's enough in there that really well capture the differences between like his pants and the tunic on top to the boots to the belt and so on there. I also really like the basing. Like it's not Helm's Deep, but I don't think that really matters. I think it's done a really nice job to frame the model. Yeah, I love this. This is great. Top job, Vivek.
Scott?
Yeah, look, I don't know this bottle.
You can have one, mate.
Pretty sure
I've got like 6. You can have one.
I don't want it. It's not a dwarf. No. Yeah, look, excellent job. I have played against this model a lot, and it's always interesting to see the different schemes that people use. Working with so many browns can be super challenging. It makes a lot of sense. A lot of things are brown, right? But when you're dealing on a model that's only a couple centimeters tall, to differentiate the color area on the model using a similar palette, like we've kind of got a light brown, a dark brown, and then a dirty brown. Like there's or a black brown. So it's nicely separated. Like you can kind of easily see, like very easily see, this is his tunic, this is his pants, these are his booties. So great job on the execution there. It's not easy to work with so many browns. Again, I'm a sucker for a good base. I like it. I like the little like daffodils. Super pretty. It's big fan. Again, I could just see it. Like this is what's cool about Lord of the Rings. It kind of evokes imagery in your mind. And yeah, this Aragorn definitely does it. Definitely strikes me as a slightly younger Aragorn. Not kind of like LSR. So, and very much like he hasn't quite managed to pick up all of his cool gear that he gets kind of like because there's no cloak. So yeah, well done.
And just knowing
Tom.
where this model's come from as well, and looking at the base, the first thought that came to my head was that like when all the Uruks are fleeing from Helm's Deep and running back into the forest, Aragorn's still chasing after them. Like he's like,
Yeah, that's a great point.
But like, yeah, I think it's like everyone else is saying that I was just looking at the legs, just being like, how has he done all those different browns to be so clear from each other? Like none of the highlights, from what I can see, have the same. They don't look like they go towards the same point. It's not as if you've just done I'm going to mix the Sharpity Burn with everything, and give it that look. It's all distinct and all separate, but still very together at the same time. I like it.
Yeah. Look, everyone's kind of echoed what we're all thinking, right? It's got that subtle, nicely well, good choices with the browns, and it's executed really well. I really like the base. It's just really nice. Like just looking at the base even is just awesome. And it's no wonder because we're talking about Vivek here. So yeah, really great hobby here to see a classic sculpt done really well. Okay, so we've got Aragorn, King of Men, right? Numenorian heritage. Let's look at the next where it all came from. Let's have a look at the next one. We've got some Numenorian spearmen done by the hobby machine himself, Andrew L. Look, I'm going to start off here and go. This is so cool, right? Because I've racked my head around trying to kind of evoke the 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 like the royalty or the really cool sort of feeling of Numenorian heritage, and this is a great conversion idea. I'm just going to start there, and look, he's as expected, Hobby Machine. He always delivers when it comes to things like conversions, and he's done an excellent job. So for those at home who don't know, these are Citadel Guard actually with head swaps. I believe those are specifically the metal spearman head swaps as well. So it's got that extra definition and better scaling compared to the plastic ones. And he's done for a spear swap, and in some cases he's even gone for like a a strapped shield on the back. You know, I haven't even started on the banner. That thing's amazing. What do you think, guys? Who wants to start?
Look, I'll just jump in and say, Eric, that was an excellent segue. And the only thing better than that is these conversions. These are really neat. You know, I'd throw money to have these come in a packet, to be quite honest. I love this. And I think you said it really well, Eric, with the this really sells that royalty, you know, the noble bloodline of Numenor. And I think these models with the conversion and the paint scheme combined hit that really nicely. Big fan of the base. It's just sort of like that classic GW style that just brings me straight back to, you know, nostalgia childhood, and I love that style of base. I'd love to see a bit more of a close up of that banner, because it looks like you've got some slightly different colors going on for the trims around the side, which must not have been easy to do. So yeah, hopefully I get to see this in the flesh at some point and just feast my eyes on it. Top job, Andrew. Well in, mate.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here like, oh, look at this guy flexing. Like everybody else has submitted like, you know, 1, 2, maybe 3, 5 models. And he's like, yeah, let me just put in a full warband. Like, all right, mate. All right, chill out. Like, we know you got a young kid. Like, no need to show off, right? You hobby machine. Nah, but all seriousness, what an impressive effort, right? Like, I think everybody wish we could paint this many models, in a month, let alone a year. I really dig a lot of the finer touches here. Like a lot of we've already kind of touched on some of the broader aesthetics here, but things that I, you know, like going down a couple of levels here. I really like little stars on on the pennants and all the spears. That's a really nice touch. It's not something that you would probably notice or see, because it's kind of one of those small details, but it sells it really well. Like it just kind of adds on. You know, there are a lot of times when you do small details that you don't really appreciate until you kind of like, it's not there or it's pointed out to you. So the little stars on the pennants, sick, cool, 10 out of 10. The banner work, excellent. You know, for me, yeah, the main body, the banner is really nice, but what actually really gets me excited and I see and I'm like, wow, that's cool, is actually the trimmings and the pennants at the top. Just like the battle honors, you know. It's kind of weird. When I saw that, it reminded me of the scene from Jarhead, where they talk about how they lost their colors on the transport, and he's like, but worry not about that dishonor, because the battle streams that we will earn, you know. And I'm like, oh cool, look at all these battle streams. Like it sells that, not only what we're talking about with royalty here, but it talks about the long proud like military lineage, for me at least, and I say it evokes that to me, that Gondor is well known for. I think as well, your basing executed really nicely helps frame your models, particularly with a dark color scheme with a lot of black cloaks and black shields, you know, typical Gondorian scheme there. So choosing a nice bright sand really helps to frame them and make them pop really nicely. So yeah, again, this is the kind of stuff that I go to a tournament, I'm like, yeah, cool. Like Dwarves going to beat this, sick. But yeah, cool. I like it a lot. Well executed.
I think it's interesting comparing this paint style to the previous ones as well. Like just, I mean, the boots on all these models stands out to me. It's just everyone turned 18 and got their first pair of RM Williams and just decided, let's go kill some orc now. Like there's none of the leather has any chipping or anything. Like it's very fresh leather. Like everything about it sells that appearance of superiority that the Numenors or Numenorians had, like in all the different areas. I love the fact that so many of the poses are unique from each other, let alone everyone else's armies. That's always a big win for me. But it's just, yeah, I like everything about it. I think the paint job really sells the level that they were, and it's just, yeah, I'm jealous of mine when I look at them now compared to this.
Andrew's here in chat with us, and he's just pointed out that the banner is Uruk-hai banner.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Two things
about
that. Yeah, two things about that. One, I wouldn't have known. So I wouldn't have put the two pieces together, which already gives you a good indication of that's an excellent conversion, because you assume it's a model, right? Like you know a conversion like passes the litmus test if if you can't tell that it's conversion. You're kind of like, what, really? So I had a look at the banner a bit more, and there's a couple of things there that I really like about the story. One is it's cropped there in the photo, but it looks like the crown on the top there as a top of the banner. Cool, nice little touch. I like it a lot because it's very, very thematic. And what actually I really like is actually the battle damage. The Urukai banner, it's a bit raggedy, it's a bit tattered, but that kind of here, and for Urukai, sorry, let me finish this sentence. For Urukai, it's very much because they're Urukai, like they don't kind of care, they don't take care of things. But for here, it's like this is a treasured battle standard. It came with us from the founding days of Gondor, or even like escaped the sinking of Numenor. Like it has that age to it. Like I looked at the bottom, like, oh, and I can't quite tell on the photo, but it looks like you've weathered the bottom of the banner a bit more there, like you've kind of faded it out. It looks like I think you've thrown in some green, perhaps. Cool, because yeah, it just sells that age to it. Like it's well done. Like that's all. Like bravo, like little dwarf clap. Yeah.
Yeah, look, this screams hobby machine, and the amount of care that he takes when it comes to coming up with the themes and narrative of the conversion he makes. It's really awesome to see, and it's I'm gonna say it's expected of hobby machine, right? And yeah, Andrew confirmed that it is indeed not just any crown, it is Elendil's crown, and he managed to get that onto the banner pole. So that's really awesome. I'm just gonna add the other aspect is Tom mentioned how clean a lot of the equipment that these guys are carrying, but you compare that to sort of the slightly weathered look of the banner. It really sells that story of they care about both their their sort of heritage, where they came from, but also they also care about taking care of their gear and making sure that they're battle ready and presenting themselves in the utmost best uh, best look when going to war. Um, I also want to point out that with conversions, it's so easy to stuff up on scale and proportions, and the fact that he's managed to pull this really cool true scale looking spearman, um, it's cool to see. And every shield has a strap if it's on the back. Also, nice, just nice,
Nice. Yeah.
nice.
This to me, like I'd totally get my nerd on because it's almost giving me those quasi Roman legion vibes,
Mm.
like just professional soldiers, which is something Middle Earth doesn't actually have a lot of because the real professional soldiers are Iron Hills and then orcs. So
All right. Now we've looked at a lot of armies, a lot of warriors. We're gonna jump to a different type of model. Actually, a model that isn't actually in a like a Games Workshop range, but it is still eligible. I would point out that it is Middle Earth strategy, but it is Middle Earth related, and it is Andrew, another Andrew, Andrew C, the Coltrane himself, coming in with Gandalf the Grey. Now, this sculpt, if you don't recognize it, is actually from the what is it? The Fantasy
did we lose
Flight.
Eric?
Yeah,
I'm
I was
just
gonna
like,
say,
Hello?
is he
No,
back?
you still there?
there. You're like
Um,
it is, and there's a drum roll, and then I'm like, it's
no,
That
just
was a drum roll, yeah.
yeah, it's just a little bit of Discord issue there. But yeah, this model is actually from the Fantasy Flight board game, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and look, I'm gonna start here and say this is really cool. He's gone for the classic Gandalf the Grey look. He's got the grey cloak, he's the grey pilgrim, he's got the blue hat. Um, he's got glamdring on his side. The eyes are well painted. There's a lot of sort of like highlighting and blending going on with the cloak to kind of give this really strong definition. But what really stands out to me is the beard doesn't get lost in the grayness of the robe. It's you can see quite clearly the difference between the robes and the beard. He's also got some subtle OSL effects as well with the stuff as well. So really cool. What do you think, Ruben?
I dig this. I wasn't sure if this was GW sculpt at first, so thanks for clarifying that. I didn't think so. This is really cool. You're absolutely right in that it just sells. Hey, this is Gandalf the Grey, the Wanderer. I think the poster does a great job, and again, you sort of said it where I think Andrew, you've done a killer job at making sure that that beard still stands out and looks different to the grey cloak, even though they're both obviously grey. Also, I really like doing the scabbard in a similar color to the staff because, again, something that maybe I'm just sounding like a broken record here, but it helps frame the model. You've got that nice warm brown sitting on both the left and the right side of the model, and it looks really good. And then also because it's that slightly warm color, it then contrasts really nicely with the hat, which you've also done a really good job at doing some volumetric highlighting on. Yeah, this is cool. This makes me want to dive in and play some of that fantasy flight game. Awesome job.
Yeah,
I
it's
hope it comes across actually into the games as well, because I think when I was first reading through Gandalf's rules and reading Collapse Rocks, to me this is always the pose that he pulls whenever he casts that spell. So I really hope it actually makes its way onto the tabletop as a proxy. But I think the hat for me, you can see the texture and the way it's highlighted as well. That's what's every time I look back at this mini, that's what jumps out to me. That the fact that you can see the threads going across as it's highlighted up, and it's a again, it just shows the different texture between the hat and the robes. I know that the different colors with the blue and the gray, but it just everything has its own unique way of being highlighted on this mini, so it just helps separate all of the different segments that way.
it's interesting. It's important to know that this model is 32 scale, so it's slightly larger than your usual 28 mil. So that in itself has its own challenges for painting. I don't know if anyone here in chat's done a bust or any of those larger models that are on a different scale. Like it can really can turn your skills on its head a little bit because the lighting is just so much different. So it's really well done here. I like that where the light falls has been shaded appropriately. Like it looks really good. It makes a lot of sense. Like his foot's forward, so it looks like the highlights come further up there as opposed to under his arm. His beard is nicely done as well. It's hard to do a good beard sometimes, particularly at a scale that you're not familiar with or a different scale. Because let's just say let's hit it with a wash. Well, the wash will pool in the recesses and look all weird and wrong. So you don't want to do that. Whereas here it's nicely picked out each fiber, each strand looks really good. So yeah, no, well done. A big fan.
Yeah, I'm just gonna point out the basing as well. It's really nice. It's like
Absolutely.
it's straight out of New Zealand. Like looking at that rock there, and the different tufts that he's used, and the different sizes of the grit with the big rocks and the small little sands. It's really nice. Really.
And then the variation in tuft as well.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Yeah. Well done, Andrew. Well done. All right. Now let's switch over to another very classic sort of competition model. For every Galadriel that we saw earlier, you're probably going to see this one as well in most sort of painting events. And let's have a look at Dicebearers' own Alexa. So let's have a look here. He's got Kyodan, my man Kyodan. All right, let's start with Tom. What do you think?
I'm trying to think how to start with this model. I think it would have been interesting to see if Alexa had a time limit on his as well, to see if his was done under 3 hours, knowing his pace of painting. But if it was, it would be even more incredible than what it already is. I think the waistband is a really good divide in this model. Whether it matches the base is another story, or if it has its own little black trim, we're not sure with this thumb. But I really like how the blue has, again, just it shows the texture. The face is highlighted really well to actually show the concerned look that the model has. And again, as Alexa does really well, it doesn't just have one recessed color that the whole model shares. It's definitely reflects how light would actually play with the objects, like in reality. So it has, under the chin is obviously a very dark place, and it is different to where its cheek and all the different parts of the model is. So I mean, I like Alexa's style. I like how he composes his models and brings them all together. And obviously, blue's a very strong color for him, and he's done a really good job here.
Ribbit?
Yeah, look, I'm always in love with Alexa's blue work. It's just radiant and it feels just magical, and it's so eye catching as well. And I think you've done a killer work on the subtle wrinkles and so on. I'm working on something at the moment, some cloth with subtle wrinkles, and it's a bloody nightmare, to be honest. And this is really, really well done. I'm loving the tones as well. The white hair is selling properly as white hair, which is not easy to do. And also just going for these slightly warmer tones that you've got for I guess it's the sash and the top of the shoulders as well. Doing a really nice job to frame and contrast against the blue there. Yeah, top job, buddy. Love that, Alexa.
Yeah, I like your base, Chief. Like, good job on your on your basic tactical thumb. What a cool model, right? Like, this is another one of those. You always see it in competitions because it's a good model. The only fault I have with the model is it doesn't have a beard. No, Curtin's supposed to have a beard.
Allegedly. That's
Yeah. No,
debatable.
he's part dwarf. He makes things, therefore beard. Anyway, let's get on the paint job. Yeah, no, look, as Tom said, blue for Alexa is a strong color. A lot of his armies have blue in them. And when I say a lot, I'm pretty sure almost all of them, if memory serves, have a strong blue somewhere. So it's nicely done here again. I like the color scheme because it's simple. You know, it's easy to kind of get caught up in doing lots of different colors or lots of different pieces. Whereas here it's just nicely done, well shaded, nice and neat, nice and clean. So yeah, good job, Alexa.
Yeah, when you see that blue, you know it's an Alexa style or Alexa paint job.
It's the signature, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got the signature blue. Blue is definitely his favorite. If you've ever seen Alexis, a lot of his armies, and you hit the nail on the head there, Tom. The sash and the little cloak that he has on his shoulders draped there really frames the model, breaks it up a bit, and just gives this sort of nice, like really. I don't even know how to describe it. Just an elvish look, right? It's got that, delicate but noble sort of color scheme, and it really sells the model really well.
I think it's like it's smartly balanced from a color theory perspective, which is what an elf would do when they dress as well. I'm sure they probably figured out color theory back in Middle Earth, so maybe that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, Alexa is actually in the chat there. Hello. And he said he's did it a bit over an hour, so there you go. That would be a record. So yeah, really well done there. And the skin, really nice as well. I really like it. All right, so next one, it's gonna be, well, I wouldn't say interesting. It's not very interesting. It's my one, right? I also put my hand up in for the event here. Although I'm not eligible for any prizes, just to be upfront with that. But I did want to really push myself and kind of paint along with you guys and get stuff done. And look, I'm just gonna flip it over and I'm just gonna let you guys talk and tell me what I did. What little I did right with it. So let's have a look. Yeah, it's me. All right. Who wants to go first?
Look, I love it, Eric. It's wonderful to see you working away on hobby. And these are cool, man. The conversion work is great on this. It sells, it's building its own aesthetic while keeping what we know of from box art and so on. Love the shields, love the face plates, and also are those additional tufts beneath the horse's neck, or I'm not sure.
The cataphract actually has that built.
Yeah, right. Well, I think the color work on it actually does a really good job to highlight that detail, which is really cool. I think the turquoise is really nicely balanced around the model. Did a really nice job doing a good clean base. Just interesting brown variation in there, which again is something hard, and I think something everyone who's submitted today has had it's a challenge with the painting in the Lord of the Rings or Middle Earth style. There's a lot of brown, and this sort of variation is really well done and masterfully done. Dig it. Well done.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like about these is that you don't paint like this more often. Like, this is good.
Correct.
I don't know why you don't paint more. You know, for those of you who don't know, Eric is, I, not to put you on the spot here, but you're a pretty flaky painter. You'll say you'll paint something, and then you start it, and then you don't finish it. So it's really nice to see you actually finish something for once. I know I've seen your Arnold done. Like, we know you can do it, and Khand has been one of those armies for you, or Eastling, because you've got Eastlings mixed into your Khand. It's been an army that you've really struggled with. So first off, well done on getting a unit done, because it's finally really nice to see you have something finished that looks cool. Because these look super cool. Um, I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I don't know why you think that they're not that great. I would say this in black cool because they tick all the boxes for me.
Mhm.
Like, personally, they tick a lot of boxes. You know, there's
It's
effort
perfect
and
tabletop.
attention to detail. Yeah, they're cleanly painted. It's a nice color scheme. It's well executed. Like, the list kind of just keeps going on of why I think these are well done. And you might say, well, there's nothing turbo on them. And you know what? You'd be right if you're like, oh, well, there's nothing super turbo on them, but it doesn't need to have something turbo on it to make it cool. You know, like, I can see the scaling on the barding. I can see the detail on the faces. I can see the shields at a distance. I can see the shading again on the tassels. Like, the colors are clean and crisp and tight. Like, the horses are nicely done. Painting horses is hard. Like, everybody knows this. So yeah, I don't know why you're selling yourself short, Chug. And to be quite frank, like, just please paint more models, because I'd like to see more of your painted stuff. This is cool.
Yeah. No, I really like the shields as well. I think they sell the aesthetic of that samurai look as well that you've brought in, and like everyone having their own unique household element that way. But it's all, as I was saying before, with some of the other conversions, that when you look at these, if you didn't know the models clearly, just like Rupert was saying, you almost are thinking that everything is then, once you find out that it's a conversion, that because you can't tell what you've put on and what you've taken away, that you just think all the detail is something that you've added to the model, which you've obviously added a lot to these and changed them a lot. But I think it all works. It's super unique, super cool. Yeah, like Scott says, it's nice to see you have had the paint job done. You did better than me. We both started at the same time, and I've just got base coats and washes down on all of my different Rohan guys when you've got 4 completed. So well done.
How did you do the shields? I really dig that aged gold, or is it just aged steel color?
Yeah. Look. Thanks for the kind words, guys. Look, you kind of put me on the spot there. Look, I do agree. I struggle to get things completed. And to put into context, this unit I converted in well, I think it's like 3 or 4 years ago. So yeah, this is the idea of an event like this, is really just kind of dig deep and get things done. And this, like, yeah, I am very happy that I got them done. And look, it's always a struggle to kind of measure yourself when you're trying to, put a lot of effort into painting. But completing something is in itself is such a gargantuan task that it deserves its own, you know, it deserves a special type of pride that I think it's everyone should really enjoy that sort of feeling. To answer the question about the shields there, look, it's a bit of an experiment. Like, I've been kind of experimenting with the metallics from the Vallejo range. Um, to kind of give you an idea, it was base coated in like a gunmetal style silver, um, and I've gotten like a bronzy color for the sort of the central area of the shield itself. And I kind of put it haphazardly, and initially I thought it looked terrible, but what kind of brought it together was a glaze of like a sepia style glaze that I kind of put on the model on the shield, and then I also tied it back in with some basilicum grey contrast as well to kind of give it that little bit of black lining there, so it gives it a bit of definition. That I would say that's probably for half the shields. The other half I kind of went for a color called Old Gold from Vallejo, and I put that quite translucent over silver, and it gives this sort of slight off gold sheen, and you can see that on the right hand side shield there. And then again, just kind of glazing it with a bit of sepia to reintroduce some of that warmer tones into the shield there. So yeah, a lot of experimenting. As you guys kind of were the the focus group of trying to figure out the colors of the masks. It's
I was a fan of the cheese mask, to be
yeah.
honest.
It started off as white. It was pretty bad. Um, and yeah, we'll shout out to Big Z and yourself, Rupert, that switched it over to a burgundy style mask, and it kind of sells the Oni mask, which these are actually bits from a like a Japanese historical model range that I kind of chopped and changed into and slotted them into the Eastling helmets. And yeah, it kind of gives it that sort of scary, like what I wanted to sell was like a scary unit, which, these guys hopefully are on the tabletop, that being my sort of Black Dragon unit. So yeah, that's yeah. At
If
the
I
end, yeah, in the end of the day, I'm happy that that's done.
Just something you touched on there, where it's the idea of this competition well, not competition, but just promotion or enthusiasm that you guys are working with, is if there's someone who who hasn't picked up a brush in a while or hasn't finished something in a while, just call them out. Like, this is it. Even if it's just a single model, almost anyone can fit in the time to do a single model to a tabletop standard in a month, and this is a perfect way of doing with it because it's a shared experience, which is great.
Hell yeah. Look, thank you everyone for sticking with us. We're gonna go into our last entry, and I'm gonna say I've saved something really special for the last entry here. And again, it's from a faction that I really like. It's Khand. It's Khandish King by Will. Look, I'm gonna throw it to you, Tom. What do you think?
I mean, I think this model's incredible. I know I was speaking to Will at the beginning of the month, and he's obviously put a lot of time and work into this model. I don't know how long he spent on the horses just themselves, but it was a long time just adding all the different brushstrokes to give the texture and just slowly, like, layer on layer on layer, to build up the highlights, but just to keep putting in the horsehair as it goes through, and you can really see it. The angles show it well in the different parts of the horse, but I mean that the snouts having that slightly variation to the color. The hooves aren't just a black with a simple trim. They've a much more of a realistic appearance, but then just having so many bright colors across the model really just sells that elaborate imagery of a king, um, showing off their wealth and their power over everyone else, even on the battlefield. And then the basing as well is another just massive tick that he's improved on, where it shows like it's got like dynamics moving across the piece. It's showing the movement and the pace that this model would be having in real life. But I like the freehand at the back. I know that's a massive pain to do across different things. I like the little orc head he's chucked at the front. Yeah, the horses especially I really like with this model, but it's all of it together is just amazing. I'm a big fan.
Scott, what do you think?
Look, I see this. I'm like, dude, where's my card? Oh, I get it.
Oh,
Nah,
Wow.
I think this is excellent. Like, good effort. Good effort sounds like I'm underplaying it. I want to highlight how complex painting a model like this is, because there's lots of pieces on it, and it's can be really laborious trying to do it all. The Khan chariots are pretty fiddly. Um, it's kind of hard to break this into small pieces, like the rider on the back. If the horse is done individually, the actual chariot itself, like there's lots of small pieces there that are quite frankly a pain in the ass to do. Um, and it's a lot of work because you're painting 5 or 6 times what you would normally paint on a single model. So, A, it's very hard to stay consistent. So great job. Now to jump actually into the paint scheme itself, I think it's great. It very much to me is a realistic looking one. The green tassels, like the red banding, the blue cloth, like it speaks to me of like a steep people, right? Like it looks great. I love the little goblin head as well. That's so cool and cute, like a little figurehead there. I also want to point out the base. Really like it. It looks like dead grass, I suppose, is what I'd go with, like what dead grass would actually look like at a miniature scale when it's quite thick. So again, nicely done. I really like the banner as well because I'll have to check, but um, it looks specific to what the actual Khand interpretation of the Eye of Sauron is. I'll need to fact check that, but to me, I'm like, oh, cool, it's the Eye of Sauron, but with a different spin, different flavor. So nice bit of freehand there at the back. But yeah, for me, I just keep coming back to the color scheme. I like that the green armor is carried through on the green tassels. I like that the red sash matches the red on their harness on the horses. They both got the same blue cloth. Like, yeah, cool. Like it a lot. I can't wait to drive down into this.
Yeah, I dig this model, Will. Scotty, you said that completely right. Working with a model like this it's just hard to physically paint, like get brush to this miniature. And also, I imagine, assuming it's metal, it would also be really heavy. I had issues even just doing metal cavalry, let alone 2 horses and a whole bloody chariot and flags on the back. The green work on this is really cool. Something I think we were talking about, I think it was Adam's model earlier, how there was yellow, blue and red all on the same model. Hard colors to make work. Again here, blue, red and green, also hard colors to make work well together. And I think you've managed to do that really well. And I think, Tom, just to sort of reiterate what you said, it sells royalty. Like this guy looks, this guy means business. And he's just a head honcho. I dig the base. The freehand on the banners look great. I love that stylized, even if it's not technically the correct one. I think it works really well for that. Yeah, top job, Will. Love it, Chief.
All right, it's my turn. Are you guys ready? All right. I know this model intimately, right? I have one, as Scott would happily point out, I have one half painted sitting on my desk right now, and it is an absolute nightmare to A, put together, B, kind of bring it all together after painting it, because you're going to have to paint this in stages, right? You got to do the horses separately, you got to do the chariots separate, you got to do the guy separately, and then you got to fiddly, scary moments of attaching the dude onto the chariot itself. So it's already a high level sort of hobby project that it's something that modern GW has the luxury of kind of not having to deal with, right? Because these days you're just dealing with plastic and fine cast or resin, but this is true hobby right here, old school. So already he's chosen for a fairly difficult model, and it's props to him to tackle this. The second part is I want to point out the color scheme. So the color scheme, it just screams narrative, screams theme, and it screams that he actually thought about this very carefully. So first thing first, he's gone for the blue and the red as the main colors. Those are the main colors that the Mongolian horde used, right? And he's done a bit of historical work, which the Khan sort of models are actually based on, is the real world historical Hunnic slash Mongolian style sort of theme there. So he's gone for that thematic real world connection with the color scheme. The
Did we
blue.
lose Eric there again?
Oh no, I'm here.
No, I get him.
And he also the blue also sells the royalty that exudes in this model. He's the Khandish king, right? And blue dyed cloth is hard to come by, and he's draped his horses in it, and that already again another big tick in my book. He's also got a cheeky little orc head. I don't know if you guys have actually noticed the little orc head that's sitting on the chariot there. You guys see that?
On the
Yeah.
left-hand side.
No, the in the
It's the
center
right
of
horse.
yeah. So the chariot itself has like a little bit that protrudes forward, like where the harness sits, and he's actually opted to put a little orc head, very cute little Easter egg detail there. And he's gone for a green armor, again evoking that sort of Oriental slash Asian style, mountain pattern armor that's very common in historical references. So he's done his homework with a paint scheme like this, and he's managed to tie it into the world of Tolkien, which is really cool. And as you said, Scott, he's gone for a reinterpretation of the Eye of Sauron on the with I assume is the Tower of Barad-dûr or possibly Mount Doom with the triangle sort of mountain motif on the back banner there. Another point and a final point. He's opted to not put the extra banners onto the chariot, which is a really clever choice because what I found with this model is it's extremely finicky and very busy to have too many banners on the actual chariot because if you look at the original model, the chariot itself has extra banners. He's opted to not attach those, which I think actually adds so much more to the actual model. It brings the focus back to the Carnish King himself. And the other thing is he's gone for a really nice, sun-kissed skin tone there. It's like he's been riding out on the plains for a very long time. He's battle hardened, bow in hand, ready to rock. And look, awesome job, Will, awesome.
I also really like the background choice as well. It's like
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
the Rohan
I-
saved Gondor once, and now they're coming back a couple of 100 years later to
yeah.
get their revenge.
Bonus points if you know where that's from.
What where that
Yeah,
background's
where
from?
that background's from.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's from a book. It's from
Yeah, it's from the rule book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It almost has like a little bit of an Indiana Jones vibe, right? He's the little airplane that's flying around Middle Earth, just
You can
conquering.
see the red line
Yeah,
tracking across Middle Earth.
yeah, yeah. So any last thoughts, guys, about the entries overall before we wrap it up?
Oh, what a privilege. I just want to thank
Absolute
everybody for
privilege.
being
How
involved.
bloody good.
Yeah, what a privileged, what a privilege to see everybody's paint jobs. I feel bad I didn't get my stuff done, but that's okay. There's next month.
You just always forget how good everyone is as well. Like there's just so many quality paint jobs everywhere within. Like I feel like every time I see someone's painting, I'm always like sick, even if it's just those first couple of layers down on something. But it's just I've never. It's very like it's such a rewarding hobby to do just for yourself. But then when you see everyone else just doing it, just giving their all for whatever paint jobs they do, I think it's always just. I don't want anyone to be shy of submitting something. I think next month based off what they've seen here. I think that would be a shame if people saw how well like all of these models are painted, and then next month people don't submit because they don't want theirs to be shared on a stream like this. When really they're all good. They all give you a smile when you look at them.
Yeah, and even if you're not that proud of it, let us help you become proud of your models. Like I love looking at people's hobbies and just pointing out, even if they didn't think they did something well, be like, nah, you killed that, dude. This is awesome, and just more painted models from all of us is the best thing.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for joining. It's almost 2 hours of just absolute drooling over some painted models. Just to remind everyone that the poll is live on the Australian MESBG Facebook group. And submit your votes. Feel free to vote for as many or as little as you like of the different entries. Again, just to preface, myself and Alexa, although we're on the list, we won't be eligible for prizes, so they will cascade down. And speaking of prizes, I have mentioned in the post that the lucky winner will get themselves $80 towards their next hobby purchase, with also a runner-up for $40. So yeah, get voting. The votes will close Thursday, 9 p.m. sharp. 9 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time sharp, and then that will announce the winner. After that, we'll roll into October, and that's when we're gonna start this whole wheelhouse again. And I'm very happy to announce that with the generous support of Knights of Dice and Zorpsop Gaming, we're gonna have some even better prizes next month as well. So thank you for everyone for tuning in. And yeah, just keep betting, guys. Like this is what we see here. It's just a sliver of the power that the community has, and I'm already blown away. And thank you for joining us as well, Scott, Rupert, Tom, and yeah, we're gonna sign off. Bye, guys.
Thanks everybody.
Thanks, guys. Thanks
Appreciate
for
your
Yeah.
time.
tuning in.